Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and yes, it is that time. Give me that drum roll and grab that flagon of mead as yes, Choose Your Own Adventure is back, the medieval themed weekly show where you choose the subject matter and I, the crown jewels of What Culture, present it to you in glorious live action. I'll also be live in the chat here, so say hi and tell me, I don't know, your favourite type of biscuits. And speaking of lovely snacks, actually, the wonderful Jennifer Green submitted her request for this week's episode, and I am more than happy to oblige, as yes, it's time to talk about DLC. Now, in this current industry, those three letters can strike fear into the hearts of gamers. I mean, after all, you've just stumped up all of that fat cash, and now you're being told that it's not even the complete version? Outrage, I say. However, let's just put down our pointy sticks because it's not all bad news, my friends, as some DLC manages to rise above the slop and become the cream of the crop. So let's list them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game DLC stories better than the main game. And just remember, by the way, chuck your own suggestions for next week's video down below, and you might well join those chosen lucky few to have their ideas butchered by this bold idiot. Anyway, let's crack on. Number 10, Batman Arkham Origins, Cold Heart. Poor old Arkham Origins. I mean, it tried to do something new and interesting with the Batman video game franchise, opting to tell a story of Batman's early years, but somewhere along the line, it didn't quite stick the landing. I mean, still though, it didn't overuse the Batmobile like in Arkham Knight. That was just boring. Anyway, despite the story of Origins being entirely predictable, because I mean, it's an origin story, we know where it's going to be headed, the DLC Cold Heart managed to add in a ton of depth to the proceedings. Now, Victor Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, is a compelling character from the off, because he's one that doesn't actually act out of hate, but out of love. It's just a shame that his efforts to save his wife usually mean that he's given more than a cold shoulder to people who didn't deserve it. And yet because of this situation, Batman is forced to consider his own moral compass in order to combat this deadly foe. This leads to the pair duking it out across some brilliant set pieces, and come the close of this piece of DLC, despite its name, it will have definitely warmed your heart for how emotional it becomes. Check it out. Number 9, Bioshock 2, Minerva's Den. Now here's the thing, you little barnacles, I love Bioshock. I know I've only banged on about it a million times on this channel, but I still want to knuckle down and tell you right now that Bioshock 2 is alright. I will defend it to the hilt because I actually prefer it to Infinite. I'm just enamored with Rapture in any form, can you blame me? And yes, true, the second time around wasn't as breathtaking as the first, but that was all put right with Minerva's Den. Here, you play as Sigma, a big old daddy, who's been given the task to retrieve the programming code from a rogue AI known as the Thinker. And with that, you'll be able to manufacture a cure for the damage that Adam has done to the populace of Rapture. But if you think that this is going to be simple, then you are dead wrong, my friends. Because the way that this game doles out its narrative is just delicious. It ekes out twists and turns across its short runtime that manages to keep you as hooked as a spider splicer's victims. Now, I won't ruin the reveal because that is the fun of this short episode, but trust me, you will be leaving Rapture with a tear in your eye and a smile across your face. God, I love Bioshock. Number 8, Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Now, at the time of recording, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still the absolute oversized horse bollocks of gaming. It is a title that managed to not only provide one of the most satisfying narratives going, but also has enough gunplay that will keep you on the edge of your saddle from start to finish. And yet, it is still not the best in the series. And why is that? No zombie DLC, my friends, because you know I am right. Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption was entirely brilliant. If it was a piece of cake, there would be nothing left but crumbs. And then I'd be licking the plate. And then I'd be smashing the plate over myself to get as much of its DNA inside me as possible. I'm quite passionate about it. And the entire tone of the game is shifted to a B-movie zombie gore fest and the introduction of new enemies, new town defense mechanics. So, hello Preston Garvey, a terrifying new visual aesthetic and a slew of missions just means that you'll be back for more and more, and you will get so much more bang for your buck than even dynamite fishing. I unashamedly love this shambling corpse of an expansion, and I hope that Rockstar finally gives us something to cause rigor mortis in my pants soon, because they've been teasing it with those neon-eyed NPCs that people were finding in Red Dead 2, so it's just like, just give me what I want. Just give me what I want. Number 7, Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Now, as some of you might know, I bloody love D&D. In fact, we're actually gearing up to launch a series of it over on my board game channel, Live and Let's Dice, plug, which you should definitely go and take a look at if you have any love for your boy. And so knowing that there is a spoofy take on this classic in Borderlands 2 obviously meant that it was going to make this list. Now this time around, Tiny Tina, aka the love of my life, Ashley Birch, is the bunker master in this game of bunkers and badasses, and every aspect of the tabletop game is lampooned in that glorious Borderlands way. However, what makes this DLC truly great is the development of Tiny Tina herself. Now, the 13-year-old explosive obsessive is actually using this game to come to terms with the grief of losing her friend Roland. And come the close of this story, she's finally ready to move on, making it a truly moving and emotional moment from a game that contains diamond-shitting horses and screaming psychopaths. That tonal change, nice. Number 5, Shovel Knight, all the DLC.
Just look. If anyone's going to talk about Shovel Knight, it's almost definitely going to be me. I don't really care the fact that Jules hasn't played it, because there's plenty to talk about. Now, it is up for debate as to whether the DLC is better than Shovel Knight itself, because you wouldn't have all those immaculate campaigns without the original thing in the first place, but the amount of stuff that Yacht Club Games did for this game is insane. They pretty much put out 3 free sequels. There's Plague Knight, there's Spectre Knight, and there's King Knight, and they even did a Smash Brothers Brawl style thing called Shovel Knight Showdown. Now, that is an insane amount of content for free. The whole project spanned about 7 years or something, and it only really finished at the end of 2019. So for me, if I have to be totally honest, I think that the DLC for Shovel Knight is better than the original, but that doesn't mean that the original is not one of the best things ever made.
Get out of it!
Get out of here!
Number 5, Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. The Lord of Destruction expansion is, in short, amazing, and I know that it was originally a physical expansion, but as you can now download it today, it's going to make the cut for this list, I'm just saying. Now, the expansion acts as a direct continuation of the brilliant base game narrative and offers a new prime evil for the player and their party to battle against, the powerful and deadly Baal. Seriously, I feel like just saying his name requires a dun 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 sound effect. Editor, Rich, put that in there. The powerful and deadly Baal. And things start off hotter than watching porn in a sauna, because Baal kills Marius, the narrator of the game. So you know what? F*** you, Baal! I like the sound effect, but that's not on. So of course the mission ahead is infused with emotion as you hack, slash and chunk potions all the way through until you finally come face to face with this ugly demon. Now, not only does this build on the lore of Diablo, but it is most definitely the better gameplay experience, as this expansion adds in new character classes and items, as well as entirely revamping the single player and multiplayer engines of this game. Larger stashes, bigger screen resolution, charms, runes. I mean, it's a must-buy for anyone who is a Diablo fan. In fact, I'm going to go out there on a limb and say it's better than Diablo 3. All of it. Tell me I'm wrong, but once more, Baal. That's just fun. Number 4, Outlast, Whistleblower. Outlast should be recommended for people who are basically trying to lose a bit of weight, as this game will make you shit yourself thin. It is that scary. And if for some reason you fancy another trip around the penis-stabbing asylum sun, then Whistleblower is most definitely for you. you weirdo. Acting as a prequel, Whistleblower has players follow software engineer Wayland Park as he attempts to expose the corruption going on within the asylum. However, he's caught and admitted to said asylum as a patient. Ruh-roh, Raggy! The DLC manages to not only add in a ton more frights, but actually unveils a little more of what's going on in the asylum, thereby enhancing the original story. It's a must-play for fans of the series, and while maybe it is a push to say that it's better than the overall main game, its short runtime cuts out the flab while fleshing out all the right areas in such a way that it's definitely essential playing. Number 3, Destiny, the Taken King. Now, you don't often hear the word destiny in the gaming community without having the preamble of vanilla in front of it. Or loot boxes, but that's not what we're talking about today. And in fact, vanilla definitely describes the base game of this original because, how do I put this? It was a bit boring, right? I mean, that's what the Taken King changes, by actually giving the game a proper story rather than just some loose thread of, you're a thingy and we're all thingies and let's go shoot the other thingy. This has impact. This has key characters actually interacting with one another, clashes of personalities, drama, and of course, a lot of shooting. But not only did the Taken King build upon the lore of Destiny, but it also introduced a huge batch of new content, as well as revisions to some of the pre-existing issues of the initial release. Interface changes, quest system revisions, PvP maps, updated voice acting, and existing plots were all adapted to accommodate for this brand new content. And that took some serious love and effort. Good on ya. Number 2, Left 4 Dead 2, The Sacrifice and the Passing. Whoa now, hold your horses. Left 4 Dead 2 is a brilliant game and I am not disputing that. It is iconic. But you'll have to admit that the DLC for this game was just so utterly brilliant, and that's because they are true love letters to the fans. The Sacrifice DLC follows the original 4 survivors from the first game. They managed to find a boat, but in order to use it as a getaway vehicle, the bridge must be raised, leading Bill to sacrifice himself heroically. I just realised I should have said spoilers just in case you haven't played it, but then I don't care because it's actually quite an old game. And he stays behind to operate the generator and dies. In the Passing DLC, the second group reach the same bridge and meet the other survivors there for the first time. They encounter the same issues with the bridge, which is where they find Bill's corpse. Sad. Very sad. This one piece here is actually, strangely, one of the few pieces of character developments we get in the entire franchise, and as a result, it's surprisingly moving. So you know what, let's raise a glass in Bill's honor and say this with me one last time. Bill's here. And number 1, Duke Nukem Forever, The Doctor Who Cloned Me. 14 years. 14 years. That is how long it took for Duke Nukem to be shat out and for it to then immediately shit itself. This game went from being a myth to a mess in a matter of days, and after its release, props up sofas and is just used as flood prevention for how much of a fucking sandbag it was to the franchise. And yet, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. For despite the base game being an absolute washout, the DLC, The Doctor Who Cloned Me, actually was not terrible. It retcons the stupid ending of Forever in which Duke becomes the president, don't ask, and instead reveals that this Duke was a clone and that the original has now escaped capture and has to kill clone armies of himself in order to save the world. Now the humour is still crass, but it's better paced, and sections like driving on the moon are actually fun. It doesn't fix the game, but it's so much better than the core content. And so strangely enough, it makes it one of the best examples of video games' aim to better itself through DLC, aka this list. It's a strange old life, isn't it? And there we go, my friends. Another choose your own adventure in the bag, locked and loaded, aimed at your face. I hope that you enjoyed it, my little demons, and remember to pop your suggestions for next week's episode down below. However, before I go, I do just want to say one thing. And we spoke today about games that went on to better themselves and to improve on what was going forward. And I feel that we should all strive to do that in our real lives. We should always be growing, always be moving forward, and always trying to expand who we are as people. So ask yourself this: are you actually affording yourself that chance? Are you actually being fair enough to yourself to do that? Do you need help achieving your goals? Because I'm here to say to you that you're not alone. There are so many people out there who care about you and want you to grow. So try to identify toxic situations and move away from them. Recognize where you need to let go of the past and set goals for yourself to work towards. Structure and support, it is all intertwined. Now go out there and smash it, you big ledge. I love you. So, with that in mind, as always, I've been Jules. You can go chat to me about video games, wrestling, comics, film, TV, whatever, over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. And go out there and remember this, that you are awesome. Never forget that. And I'll see you little demons next week. Goodbye. 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 Go away. Go eat something. Go have some fruit. Have a banana.